Hello everyone, welcome to Study Automation. In this tutorial, I will show you how we can use AWS SDK to connect with DynamoDB. We will perform create, insert, update, delete from Node.js application using AWS SDK. So let's get started. So here, before going to start, in previous session we have already seen that how we can configure and install AWS CLI. So what you can do, just to check whether AWS is configured in your system or not, you can just write AWS S3ls command, and in few seconds it should list all the buckets which is already created in your account. If not, then you have to do AWS configure command, and after that it will ask you to enter few things like access key and all. And also you can do that, you can just go to your account and from there you can get your login access key, programmatic access key, and that thing you have to set up inside. So you can just go to your C directory and then users. Inside users you will see AWS folder. Then you can put your credential, programmatic access key here inside credential file. Then you will be able to run command AWS S3ls or any CLI command you will be able to perform. So now in this example we will show how we can use AWS DynamoDB through Node.js application. So let's create here one Node.js application, and for that I'll just navigate to desktop, and here I'll say mkdir and say node DynamoDB project, then cd node DynamoDB project, and after that we can write here one command which is npm init y-y. So it will generate package.json file for us. So I'll just click enter. You can see this package.json file is generated, and as of now if you'll go inside the folder itself, desktop and Node.js Dynamo, we have only one file which is package.json, and then I'll open this folder in cmd, and after that I'll say code dot. So this one will help to open Visual Studio Code. If Visual Studio Code is not installed, then you should install Visual Studio Code. I'll just say Visual Studio Code download, and here you can just download Visual Studio Code in your system. You can just download from here. One more thing you have to download is Node.js, because if Node.js is not installed in your system, then this command will not run. npm init y command will not run, so you have to install Node.js as well, and for that you can just say node download, Node.js download, and then just download from here, and you don't need to do anything, just you have to install it. After that you can just check npm-v if this is working or not. Then also you can say node -v. You will get the Node.js version, npm version. These things if already installed, then you should create one folder, and after that you can write npm init y. It will generate one package.json file, and if you'll see, this is main file here, it is saying is index.js. So we will create index.js file in Visual Studio Code. So I'll just write code dot, click enter. This folder will open in Visual Studio Code. That means Node.js Dynamo project folder is open here. I'll just create one file which is saying, I'll say index.js. You can create any file name, but yes, as it is already written main index.js, so I'm just using it. Now before going to do any other thing, I'll just click here in view and then terminal. So the same command prompt, command terminal that we can see here, now it will be available inside this one also. So right now it is selected bash. You can change as per your requirement. You can choose git prompt or git bash, anything. So git bash will come only if git for window is installed. You can choose cmd, that's also fine. Let me choose this one only. Now here, since we are going to work with DynamoDB S3, AWS S3 DynamoDB, so we have to install here as well. And to install that, we have to write npm install, and we can say @AWS SDK / client -DynamoDB. This is one package that we need to install. Let's click enter. Internet should be there, and once you perform, after that it will make entry here. So you can see here now one entry it made inside dependency, and same thing we have to do for one more library which is called AWS S3 AWS SDK, and then we can say lib DynamoDB. So lib DynamoDB also we have to install, right? So these two things is installed in our package.json, and if you see, by default one node module will be generated, and this is one log file for the package. So our main file is index, and here we can write code. So now before going to write code, let's see the architecture, what exactly we are going to do. And to create architecture, we will use eraser.io. Here I have already logged in with eraser.io to create diagram, architecture or documentation for your project. So just create the file, and then you can see here we have three menus. One is for document, you can directly write, and then another one is both, that is Canva and document. So here I'll say AWS SDK for DynamoDB. AWS SDK for DynamoDB, and then we will see all the commands here, right? So another thing is we can see Canva, right? So either if you want that if you just want to create diagram, you can just use Canva menu, Canva view, or you can write in type side by side both things. So here we have shortcut, either you can click on plus or just press /, it will open this one, and here you can search that. I'll say, let's say nodejs, right? So I'll just say node. One node will be created here. Let's go in Dynamo view. So I'll use first nodejs, as well as I'll say I need JavaScript. So nodejs, I mean JS and JavaScript, I can say these two things will be together, and using this we can create. So I can say let's add here one rectangle, and using that I will add one more rectangle. You can press R for shortcut, and then here I'll say this is AWS environment thing. So we will connect from here. If you press A, it will automatically come arrow. It will automatically select arrow. You can just click from one menu to another one, and then it will generate this arrow symbol from here. And then if you move, you can see it's automatically moving from one place to another place. And then what we will do here inside, we will say this is basically SDK. So I'll search here AWS, right? Simply I'll use AWS, and using AWS we will try to connect from here. So AWS, and inside that I will put AWS DynamoDB. So you can just type DynamoDB, it will come, and then you can paste here. So in this AWS DynamoDB, there will be few things that, for example, AWS IAM that you need to configure. So I'll just search IAM, right? Identity and access management. So I'll say this, any icon I can put. So we need to configure so IAM user as well access for the DynamoDB, and once this is connected, then we can move further, right? So using JavaScript and Node.js, we will use SDK, and then we can write here few things, right? If you want to write text, we can also write text here also. Basically here we can say that I want to perform certain things. First thing is I want to create, right? So we'll say create table command. Create table command we will put from here, and if I'll just move, it will automatically go here. Let's move this thing as well. So we'll pass here create command, then we can say we have put command. So these all different commands available that we can use. Put command, get command, update command, right? Put command, get command, update command, then we have delete command. These things we are going to perform using SDK. AWS SDK we will use, and then we can perform these things. So now if you see, we have this diagram created, and then what we can do, we can click on both, and here you will see that we have one menu is already there, another it's in 100%, so we can just zoom in, zoom out, and here we can write commands, right? So for example, I'll just copy and we can say we are going to use JavaScript for AWS SDK to perform below things, right? So these things, and then after we want to add diagram, right? So what we can do, just select and paste it, right? So you can just navigate here and it will just add this diagram here, and after that if you want, you can just say here push, it will push to your branch, and then from there directly you can change from there also. Even if you want, you can share your diagram or document, right? So once you click on document view, it will only you can see these few things, right? But as soon as if you will click on Canva, it will open the diagram as well. So this is really great feature you can use, and you can share with any person in your team. They can just edit and view your diagram. So for this we are using eraser.io. We will perform these things. Now let's create here AWS SDK code to connect with DynamoDB. So for that we can start with main method. I'll just say main, and in this main method, just main method, right? Any method name you can put. So this will be our calling method, and then we can implement this main method as well. So I'll say function main, and in this function main we can write. So let's make it async, right? So all the operations we will perform is async way, and this async we can call from here. So for now I'll just write here console.log, and just wanted to see if it's printing here something or not. So I'll say inside main method, save it, and let's run it. So to run I need to write here node and then index.js. You can see inside main method it's showing. Also, if you want that it should automatically run while writing code itself, then you can use nodemon, npm install -g, and then I'll say nodemon, right? So -g also we need to use just to create just to install nodemon globally, and then we can see whenever we are writing nodemon index.js, application is started. And if I'll write here anything or modify, right, let's say any changes if we will do, it will automatically print here. We don't need to restart our application again and again. This is one benefit of using nodemon. So now what we have to do, we need to connect with AWS, and to connect we need to specify the exact what we say. If I'll go here, we need to specify first our regions. So in which region you want to connect. So I'll say US East 1, right? So that particular thing we have to say, and then another thing we have to say is that what will be the table name. So I have already added here, so I'll just copy and let's go and put here outside method. So I'll say region should be East 1, table name should be, let's say, my sample table, or any table name you want to put, you can just put here. These two things once we have done, then we need to write code to check whether so we need to first create the client, and to create client we have, as we have already installed AWS SDK DynamoDB, so we will use this one to connect that. So for that we have to write here new DynamoDB client, and inside this braces you have to specify region. So I'll say region equal to region that we have given here. This is our region that you need to provide, and just store this one in some variable. So I'll say const DDB client. So now in all the methods we will use this client only to check whether it's connecting or not. And so we have already connected. Now let's check here whether table is already available or not. So I'll say DDB client dot send. So we have a send method, and using that we can send the commands. So command is to check whether table is already available or not. We have to use describe table. So we can write new describe. You can see all the things will come here, so we can just choose from here describe table command. And in this describe table command you need to pass here table name. So I'll say table name equal to table name that we have created, we have already defined. So this command will tell us whether table is exist or not. So if you see, we get error, and error saying 400 bad request. So it's saying resource is not found table, right? This table is not available. So in that case what we should do is that we can create one function, and we'll say that okay, if table is not available, then go and create that table. So what I'll do here, I can create one method. I'll say async function check, or let's say I'll say create table. This is my function name, and inside this function I will use my command, this command inside that. So before that I'll use try catch, try, and inside try I will put this, and if already available, right, then I'll say console.log, and I'll say table already exists, right? And in catch block what I'll say, we can create. So here we can write command to create new table, right? So to create new table we will write command here, and then it will create. So to create new table we need parameter, right? And param I have already defined here. So this is table param. I'll just copy here and paste it. So our table param is, first thing is table name, that we need to put key schema, that means which field you want as a primary key. So I'll say ID, then attribute also I'll say ID, it should be a string type, and then provision. So I'll say initially read is 1 and write is also 1, because this one will increase your cost if you put read output, read capacity and write capacity through output, right? So automatically it will create 5 instances for read, 5 instances for write if you put here 5. So initially we will write here 1, and then we have our param is ready. We need to use ddb client dot send, and here we can say that new create table command, and inside this create table command we can pass our param. This parameter that we have created we can pass here, and then we can see whether table is creating or not. If everything is okay, then we can say log table is created, right? So let's save it and then we can check. So it will automatically work. And alright, so as of now we have not called this method, so we have to call this method inside main method, right here. So to call, I'll say this method name, and then since this is async, so I'll say await. We should use await and then table name, right? So first you can see it automatically deployed, so it's saying that table already exists, and since this one is already installed, right? So we need to add here one more condition while going into catch block. So always it should not create, right? We can say here that if error dot name equal to, I'll say resource not found exception, right? Because this is what we are getting here, right? Resource not found exception. I'll copy here and paste it. So if we will say resource not found, then only we should go here and create table, right? So this is if condition, right? Table is not created, and else condition you can write whatever thing you want, right? So I'll just close here. Else, if any other thing we have, then we can just say throw error. Let's check again. So let me rerun. Right, so here we can see that table is created. We just need to add here if error.name is equal to resource not found exception. If this is getting, that means actually table is not created. In that case only you can go and create table. So we need to use here create table command, and as soon as you will use, it will add here also. So as of now you can see we have used 3 methods. One is DynamoDB client, then describe table, create table, and then this method we need to invoke here. So if you see, our application is already running and it's saying table created already, right? So what we have to do, we can go and check in our DynamoDB whether table is created or not. So I'll click here tables. You can see we have here sample table already created, my sample table, and then in this my sample table, now what we can do, we can insert one item, right? And to insert item, we can create here method. So this is check or create table. Now next command that we need to perform is insert table, right? So this is, I'll just minimize it, check. Similarly, I'll say async function, and then I'll say create item, and in this method we can just write basic param. So param I'll copy from here. So to insert we can just use this param, where we will put table name, then ID should be a string type, name, and then description. These things we have added here. And then what we need to do, I'll say await ddb client dot send, and here we can say new put command, put item. So we have new put item command, and then inside this we can just pass param, and it will simply insert the data, right? Since our application is already in running mode, so we can just say insert, it will insert data. And I'll add here one log, so console.log, and we can say item inserted. So since we have this function executed 3-4 times, right? Okay, function is not executed, yes. So I have added here this function, but this function is not called yet. So for that I'll just write here await and then this function. So now in this case it will go and insert item. So you can say item is inserted. If I'll go here again and just open my table, in this table I'll say, so as of now it will not show anything. What I'll do, explore table items, just go here, and if you see now one item is inserted, ID, then description and name, right? So if I will run again, the same thing. If I'll change anything, one more entry will be made here. So the only thing is, so if I'll, let's say, change anything, just adding dot, so it's saying item inserted again. And if I'll go and run this again, so what happens, this ID, right, ID is 1, so it is just changing that one, so replacing other stuff for that one, for that part. So let's do one more thing. So I'll say sample item 1, save. So let's go here and run again. You can see sample item 1, because the ID should be unique, and if it is not unique, then it will update that one. It will update the description and other stuff for that one. Similarly, we can write code to get item as well. So if I'll pass ID, it should return item. And to get item, similar thing we can also do. Let's just copy, and for now I'll just close my node mon. Let's paste here, and I'll say instead of create, I'll say get item, and this get item, here we have to use get item command, and we'll change the parameter. So parameter to get item is, we can simple say table name and then key. I'll just copy here and we'll go and paste this param. So in this case, simple we are saying this would be my table name, and here this is ID name. So ID we can pass from item also, and then the parameter will be called, and we can say that once you get item, we have to store somewhere, right? So we need to store, and I'll say const item equal to this. So basically the item we will get from there, and we can store directly here. And this item, I'll say get item, and then we'll put this item. So whatever thing we get, we can just check that one as well. And to call this, I'll say await and then get item. So now let's run again nodemon index.js, and let's see. So if you see get item, we are getting the item data as well. Get item, we have description, ID, name, right? These things coming here. Always, since we are writing all the things in main method only, so whenever we run application, right, it will check table created or not. It will insert one item, then it will get this item. So if you want, you can just comment these other stuff if you don't want, right? So for example, right now we are saying get item only. so it will return only get item. The next thing that we need to check is to update item, right? So to update also we can do the same kind of thing, right? I'll just copy anyone. So let's say I'll copy create and here paste it. We can say update item. Let me get the update item parameter. So this is our update item parameter. I'll copy and paste it here. So in this one, if you see what exactly we are trying to do, we have table name, then we are passing key. Key is ID, which particular field you want to update. That thing we are doing here. Then expression, right? So what we are trying to update, we wanted to update name as well as description. These two things we wanted to update, and the same thing you have to pass here in expression attribute name, expression attribute value. So value means what exactly you wanted to update, and these things we can take from the method input as well. And after that, instead of put, so put is used to insert data, and to update we have update command. So I'll say update item command. We'll use update item command, and then after update updated items. So now this update item I can call here. I'll say await update item, right? So this method I am just trying to invoke from here. So it's saying item updated. Let's go here in Dynamo and let's run it again. So you can see it's saying sample data updated sample data. That means the entry is updated. So if you want to update more than one field, right, for the particular ID, then you should use update item command. And similarly we have delete command. So for delete also it's easy one. So I'll just copy get method only and paste it here. So I'll say delete item, table name item, and then I'll say delete item command. So in this delete we can see that we have only get command. Similar to get command, we need to put the delete command as well, and then after that it will say deleted, right? Deleted item, deleted item, and it will, we can remove this one, right? So now this method also we can call. I'll say await delete item, and then as soon as you will call, it will delete the item. If I'll go here again, run it, you can see we don't have anything. That means the table that we created, I mean the data that we inserted, is deleted now. So the complete code, if you will see, right, what it is doing is we have, let me format it as well. So I'll select all, right click, go to format, and then it will automatically format my code. So it's saying first is create table, then here we are checking whether it's already available or not. If not, then inside error we are checking if resource not found error we are getting, then just we are creating one sample table with unit 5 and 5, right? And then we are just creating items, then get item, update item, delete item. All the things we are doing in one method only, main method, and these things we are doing through Node.js JavaScript code. I hope you are able to get how we can connect AWS DynamoDB through Node.js and through AWS SDK. Thank you so much for watching.